This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
All right, welcome back to Couch Potatoes. This is episode number 85, and you may be asking yourself, why are we here? Well, a while back, we were having some scheduling issues, mainly on my part. I had a busier schedule, more things going on. It was harder to get together and do the podcast on a weekly schedule. So after a while, I just said, hey, we're just going to stick with a bi-weekly schedule because that's kind of how things were working out. But things have kind of calmed down. The routine has become a little more normal again, and Ari had come to me with the idea of just keeping our normal bi-weekly shows that we've been doing for the last couple months with Dune and Tactics just the way they are, but the weeks in between that we were taking off, we are now going to get together and do a show. Kind of going to go back to a similar format to what we did when we first started Couch Potatoes, when we would jump in with an intro, go through the what we've been playing section, and then usually talk about a couple things that were, current event related, and then talk about idiots on the internet, which was a fun segment that we haven't done in quite some time. We got stuck on bigger topics, longer episodes, having more guests and things like that. And these episodes are a little bit nicer because we don't have to put as much thought into the creative process as far as coming up with podcast notes or anything like that. So that's what we're doing this week.
TLDR, you get another amazing episode. Dun, dun, dun.
So, yeah, basically, once a month, Dune will be here. Once a month, Tactics will be here. The other 2 episodes per month will just be sort of current events in the gaming industry and our community and stuff like that. So, with that said, let's jump into what we've been playing this past week. Ari, what have you been up to?
All the games. I jumped back into Hyper Light Drifter. I put it down for a week or so. No idea why. And this time I actually beat some of the bosses. All 3 of them. So there we go. And I've just got
4?
Yes, I haven't done the main. Like, there's a 4th, and then I think there's a main boss, but I haven't done the 4th. I've done the north, the west, and the east boss, because I'd actually cleared the entire zones. Just never done the bosses, but now I'm going back, killed them all, and yeah, they were actually quite fun. I like them.
Cool.
Simple. It's kind of that simple mechanics, but you have to really perfect them kind of bosses.
Easy
so you can see where you're getting.
Master.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see where you've gone wrong, but you got to fix it.
Which is why it's been compared to having Souls-like combat.
Very much so, yeah. I don't think it's as complicated as, say, Souls, or as twitchy and all that kind of stuff, but it's definitely got that sort of feel in that more 2D, top-down aesthetic.
Right.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it so far. It's funny how the little story elements keep popping up too. You don't really see much, but the more of the map you open up, the more secret areas you get into, the more of the lore and the story you find out. So it's pretty cool.
Sounds like it.
Yes, I played more Black Desert. I'm halfway through to level 54 now. So I'm getting my grind on. And these guys seriously keep updating this game. It's really annoying. It's too fast. There's more areas to grind now, more content.
Are you serious right now?
Yes,
everybody's a WoW player, and they're like, oh, content droughts, and you're like,
no, but just imagine you get to 90 on WoW, and then a week later they bump up the level to 100, but you still haven't done those raids yet. You still haven't geared up properly. From the last patch, and then they do it again 2 weeks later, bumping it up another 10 levels. So you just, I don't know. Sometimes you need that break, just to finish off what you wanted to do and all that kind of thing. I don't know.
Right. That makes sense.
Too much. And I played some Division, got a couple more levels. I'm still not 30 yet, of course. I don't know. I just kind of pitted off from that, but I kind of like it. It's a good shooting game. I played Blockhood, which is this indie architectural building kind of game. Kind of like, say, SimCity, but you're making a tower instead of an actual city. A tower with everything in it, the ecosystem and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. It's well designed. It's very intricate. And I haven't done much of it yet, but I think I will. And I played some Dreadnought, which is that space dueling kind of thing. What do you call it?
I don't
Like
know.
an arena game, but with spaceships. Big
Oh.
hulking, gigantic spaceship kind of thing. It has that kind of like naval feel to it, though. You know, like broadsides, getting slow moving
Yeah,
machines,
'cause
getting
they're
in the
like,
right area for a shot.
What are those called in Star Trek? Like Capital Class or whatever, where they're huge starships.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they are. But you've got like smaller ones that can zip around a bit more and like
Right.
torpedo bomb people. And you've got the big dreadnought classes. And there's a few roles there like healing and defense and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I think most people go those artillery sniper things though, which is really annoying. Bloody campers, man. They're in every game. Even with the spaceship, people camp.
And there's nothing to camp behind. You're just in
Exactly.
space.
Out in the open with the gigantic ship camping. I can see you. Just can't get to you yet.
Yeah.
What else have I been playing? I was just playing something watching something. Can't quite figure the name out.
Oh, overhype.
Yes, that one.
You've been
Talk
liking
about that
or
later.
what?
Talk about that later.
Okay.
And it's your turn.
I haven't really played much. I've had a really busy week. Like, I played a little bit of Black Ops 3 because the second map pack came out, so there was, new stuff to toy around with, but I only got to play a couple of the maps when I was playing it, and yeah, that was about it. There was new for free PlayStation Plus games, but I downloaded them. Tropico 5 was one of them, which I remember you talking about Tropico and enjoying it. I've never played it, and I don't know how it's going to play on a console, but it was free, so I'll try it eventually.
What game?
Tropico 5?
Oh, yes, that's good. Yeah, that would be weird with a console.
That's what I'm thinking, but it was the free game, so I don't really have a choice in the matter. And it's not a game that I would have bought myself, so maybe it'll be a good experience. I'll like it, and maybe that'll get me involved in that series. I don't know. Then there was some other, almost looked like kind of like a kart racing game, like a racing game with like combat, but it's supposed to be like RC cars. I can't remember the specific title of it at the moment, but it looked kind of cool, but I have not played it yet either. And then I had subscribed to the Humble Monthly, and Mad Max was the early pickup. If you paid the $12, that was the first game that unlocked. Still haven't played it yet. And then the bundle itself unlocked today, and there's a couple games in there that were ones that I was interested in, a couple that I already owned, and a couple that I had no interest in. So I'm probably going to try and play those this weekend, and maybe I'll write a blog post or something about the bundle itself. But yeah, I haven't really played much. I spent a lot of time watching MSI, the mid-season invitational, the league pro stuff. So the top teams from each region basically just do a round-robin tournament thing, and then there's a knockout stage, and then like a playoff type deal, and whoever wins that's like crowned the champion of the world for like the mid of the season. The actual world champion is world championship is at the end of the season. So there's been league on every night when I've gotten home from work, or a couple hours thereafter, because I think it's taking place in China right now, so the time frame is a little off. So I've been watching a lot of that, and that's entertaining, but you can't really watch that and play games. So, yeah.
Casual. Can't even watch and play.
It's because I don't have a second monitor. It's on my to-do list.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's hard to have a stream going and play a game. Otherwise, if I had a second monitor, yes, I would be doing that like crazy. But
say the second monitor is pretty damn cool. I've been binging on Voyager the entire week while playing games.
Yeah, I have my TV still that I'm using for my computer monitor, but what I want to do is buy a decent computer monitor and then just have the TV hooked up to my PS4, and then I can use the PS4 to watch Twitch or YouTube or Netflix or whatever on the secondary screen. But that's still on my to-do list.
Are you better after watching LOL, or still the same? So that's the main reason I think I'd actually watch it, to try and get better.
I think it helps you improve. I don't think you're ever going to be as mechanically gifted as the pros are, because they play like 10 hours a day every day for years on end. But I think you get a better sense of like the macro game and the meta game by watching the pros, because they tend to find the best picks and the ones that can be exploited the best. Like with an item gets a buff, and then it happens to coincide really well with this one particular character, so they're like, all of a sudden that character becomes meta because it's in the current patch phase, it's really overpowered. But then the very next patch, they'll nerf that item or they'll nerf that character, and then some other character will be better because they got a buff. And so it's just a constantly shifting meta. Watching the pros kind of keeps you in the loop as far as who the best characters are in the game currently. And it's funny because you'll see characters that never get played, and all of a sudden their pros are busting them out, and you're just like, whoa, I've never seen this guy played on the big stage before, and it's crazy. But yeah, it's entertaining to watch, just like it is entertaining to watch sports if you're into that, because it's still got that whole same... I don't necessarily have like a team where I'm like, oh, that's my team, and have team pride, but I have regional pride. So in like an international tournament like MSI, you root for NA, whereas someone else might root for Korea or whatever from, their own hometown.
GG, bro.
GG, bro.
Love it when it feels like...
As Izzy said, we're going to use these off weeks to talk a little more about the news and events within the gaming and the community, just as a way of broadening the topics we do talk about and being able to talk about certain things we might not have time to otherwise. And the first topic is PAX East. It came and went, and we really didn't hear much about it. Like, did you see much of the news of the event?
No, I mean, I caught a couple little snippets here and there, but nothing major came out of it. I've been hearing more about stuff that's coming at E3 than that.
Yeah, it was really small this year for some reason. Like, is it PAX West or PAX East that's usually bigger? PAX East is usually the big one, isn't it?
PAX Prime is the big one.
Ah, PAX Prime, gotcha. But still, we usually get a few big reveals and games to talk about and that kind of stuff. But there's nothing.
Yeah, I didn't hear much of anything at all.
It's kind of funny, but like it seems like this year is going to be the year of indie games, because we just heard so much about the big indie games coming out, and that's kind of what all these PAX things have been talking about, just indie games.
Yeah, I mean, that part of the market seems to have gathered steam, particularly because, there are only so many AAA games that can be released in a year, or even a given month. So having all these little indie studios just popping out little titles kind of fills in the voids. But also
usually
gives
they
us
spend
game
like
overload.
a year marketing them, though. And I think that's the biggest change lately. Like, we're getting more marketing and promos just before a game is released rather than, a year before.
Yeah, I think part of that has to do with the whole, failed delivery. We talked about that with Tactics the other day when, he was saying over-promising and under-delivering. I think a lot of that is bit AAA in the ass, and indies can kind of just be like, hey, this was something that we've been developing for, the last year, and it's coming out in a month. Here's some information. Hope you like it. And done and done.
I hope this is the way it goes, because I was seeing, Uncharted 4. There was so much about it everywhere all the time for, a year or more. And then they just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And then it's just released. And I'm like, what happened to the marketing part?
Well, it releases, I think, next week. But, yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah,
they should be focusing it.
It was there for E3, though, 2 years ago, and then last year, and, it would still be there this year if it wasn't releasing right before it. Same with No Man's Sky. That was E3 2 years in a row, and should be releasing close to E3 this year, from what they've said, at least.
I just find it weird that those games weren't at PAX East, showcasing themselves a little bit.
I don't think they really need to at this point.
I guess not.
I think they already have sufficient hype trains. But what were some of the games that have you heard about any in particular, indies-wise?
Well, I know Outlast 2 was putting their thing out. I'm not a survival fan. That was a pretty big one, wasn't it?
I liked the first. I never finished it, but it was definitely creepy.
Yeah, they just had this promo of running through a cornfield, trying to avoid things.
There was one that I was hearing about. I don't know if it was at PAX, but it was a survival game. But basically, one person. It was kind of a 4v1, but the one person got to play like a villain from a horror movie, and the other 4 are playing like teenagers at a cabin in the woods kind of thing. And
Oh, that was a Kickstarter.
oh, well, I've been hearing a lot about it recently, and that game looks pretty cool. Like, the whole
That would be kind of funny.
4 of us have to try and use our wits to survive against this thing that has superhuman or supernatural powers. Seemed like a cool concept. Similar to Outlast, but I think a little more interactive, because Outlast was kind of just like try and hide and survive.
Well, I'm guessing that's what was that game with the big monster? Evolve was trying to do, 4 people against one bigger monster. But I think the horror atmosphere better suits that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going up against supernatural powers while you're still kind of afraid and like.
Yeah,
That'd be
Evolve,
kinda cool.
like, you had guns, and the creature didn't. In this one, it's like the creature or horror monster has powers, and then the kids don't, and they don't have weapons or anything. So it's kind of more of a helpless thing, and you have to use your wits to be able to win, which seems a little more engaging.
I have to look that up. The other one was Ruiner. I love Cyberpunk, so that's kind of me. Another top-down kind of RPG. Let's see, Empire. That's the one I'm really interested in right now. Like, it's from Supergiant Games, so Bastion and what was the other one they did?
Transistor.
That's the one. Like, 2 amazing games, and they're making another one now, so I'm really interested in that. They actually had a demo,
Wasn't
I
that
think, that you can
supposed to be
download.
like co-op or something? Or RPG?
I'm not
or
sure.
something?
I didn't look too much into it yet, but I just saw some of the trailers and that looks amazing. They just have the most fun. They have a great art style to their games.
To me, Bastion was kind of meh, and Transistor I didn't like at all.
How did you not like Transistor?
I just didn't. It did not speak to me.
You are weird.
It just wasn't my cup of tea.
And the other thing I saw was probably the last beta game getting developed. Well, that's what they're kind of touting it to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Vita seemed to have decent support all the way.
No, it didn't. It kind of died.
I mean, Sony seems to still be supporting it. I still see games being talked about. I didn't realize that they were, at any point, somebody said this was going to be the last Vita game ever. If that's the case, I'm glad I never got one.
Maybe the last big Vita game. I'm not sure how they were touting it, but I've never seen games for the Vita. I'm sorry. I feel really bad for Sony because their consoles, their little handhelds, have never really taken off, like the PSP and the Vita. Like, yeah, some people picked it up, but they've never even approached, say, the popularity of Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because I've played a Vita, I've just never owned one. I think it kicks the shit out of the Game Boys. The graphics on it are
most
better.
definitely.
Everything about it is better, and then the ability to essentially play games streamed from your PlayStation 4 to it was kind of a cool idea. And every month they're giving away Vita games still, so I mean, it doesn't seem like they've dropped support for it. I haven't read any official announcements, but they have kind of done with their handhelds. There's been iterations or generational gaps. Same with like between PS3 and PS4, but they usually release like in between console cycles. So maybe they have a new system planned or an upgraded version, and that's where that whole last thing is coming from. Not sure.
Maybe. And that was it from PAX.
Woo, that was
disappointing. Yeah, it wasn't. I was disappointed. I like seeing the big trailers and the big reveals, but I know it seems like people are just taking the time to reveal their big games out of these kind of conventions now.
Well, E3 is coming. I think a lot of people avoid some of the other conventions just to focus on E3.
Well, even E3 is going to be smaller this year. Like,
yeah, that's what they were saying.
There was a couple of companies that pulled out, wasn't it? Like Nintendo's having their own convention now, and wasn't Microsoft having their own as well?
What I heard was that Nintendo was just doing a live stream of whatever Zelda game for their entirety of their E3 presentation.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
That's the only game that they have going for them at this point. I don't even understand how Nintendo is still a company. Like, they have nothing to offer anymore. And, like, their development has been slow as shit on everything. Like, Wii U came out, what, like
Yep.
two years ago, and they still haven't put out a Zelda game? Like, what the fuck are you doing? But, you know, there's loyal diehard fans. For them, Blizzard, other companies that, you know, some of us think are lame. But that is what it is. So I got one. I was just looking around on Steam earlier and caught a little snippet of information about Vermintide, I know it's a game that we've talked about in the past couple times, and it's a game I rather enjoy. It looks like if you go to this little link that I put in the notes, it takes you to a little teaser splash page. It shows you kind of their history of the game coming out, the last few patches that they added new stuff in, and it looks like the next big thing is coming. There's a counter here for 19 days, so we're not going to know what it is just yet, but the little teaser does say the Skaven do not appear interested in Uberschreik alone. For what perils lie outside the walls, only time will tell. So it sounds like we're going to get away from the city, maybe a new area added to the map, and who knows, maybe it's going to be more story missions. It's still talking about Skaven, so I don't think we're looking at Chaos or Undead or anything like that just yet. But
I still want those expansions.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's what they said was going to happen, but who knows what this one is going to be? But it looks like it's going to be an expansion of some sorts, and that is exciting. That game is pretty cool.
I haven't played it in a long time though.
I know. I wish I had more time.
I didn't really like the horde mode thing. I don't know why.
It was underwhelming, but I look forward to seeing new levels, new stuff added. I think once the game has had all of the expansions and things that they've talked about doing, like it's all live, it's going to be a large chunk of content to run through. And the more areas they have, the more it feels like fun rather than just grinding the same maps over and over again.
Definitely. All right, I'll go into the next one. Fallout 4 is getting an official survival mode for its game.
Well, actually, it's out
That's
already.
pretty big. Oh, it's out now. Cool.
Yeah. 1.5 hit like a week or two ago. I haven't tried it yet, but it's supposedly a very difficult mode. And I think death might be permanent, or it may be... What was it? That you couldn't save, I guess, so it was only whenever autosaves happen. So if you died, you may have to go back pretty far. I think that's what it was. I don't remember the specifics.
Yeah, I think that was it, yeah. But I don't know, I kind of like the survival modes for the Fallouts. I've played a few of them. And it just makes a lot of the game mechanics more interesting, like radiation and all that kind of stuff. The food around, water, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was the other thing, too.
Plays well into its theme.
Yeah, you had to have the... there's like a food and water type thing where you actually have to consume stuff instead of just using it to heal yourself. And then I think weight was more of a factor too, and no fast travel. So yeah, I think it would be fun.
Oh, no fast travel. Wow. That's going to change it.
But that's the one case where when you were saying that it would be nice to have like some sort of mount or something, like be able to jump in a car and drive around. Not having fast travel would make that make sense. Having the fast travel kind of made it not make sense. So I would like to see something like that modded in or added via DLC. Would be kind of cool. Because I did get the season pass before, because they were saying that the price was going to go up and they were adding stuff.
I did too.
So I made sure to pick it up. The first two DLCs have already come out. Automatron allowed you to create new robots that you could use as followers. And then there was supposedly like a storyline mission to go along with that. And then the Wasteland Workshop released a couple weeks later, something to that effect, and that was just supposed to add a lot of stuff that people said was already stuff that people had modded into the game, so it was kind of pointless, but as I have not played around with mods for the game yet, I actually haven't even checked out those two DLCs either. I don't know for sure if that's the case. And then the third patch is supposed to be coming this month, and it's called Far Harbor, and that one is supposed to add a whole new island, I guess, or it's supposed to be Maine, I think, because the original part of the game takes place in Boston, New England, whatever. So it's not supposed to be super far away, but it's supposed to be something more on the level of like Skyrim's expansion that added that whole extra island. So that one I'm really looking forward to, because that's more story stuff, more missions, more goodies, and then the other things, are just stuff you can play around with in the meantime. It's looking like it's going to have some cool stuff added to it.
Yeah, it's impressive. Like, I'm always a little bit skeptical about those season passes, about how much they're actually going to add, But it seems like they're actually going to make good on it.
Well, considering Fallout 3 had like 4 or 5 DLCs, I don't remember exactly how many, because when I bought the game, I got the Game of the Year that had it all included. But I know that some of them were missions, and some were just like little things that got added onto the map. I don't think Fallout 3 had a huge extra area added to it, but they definitely did with Skyrim. and now they're doing the same with Fallout 4. The little chunks of being able to make robots and stuff, some of that, could have maybe been like a free patch. Somebody was complaining and saying that the Wasteland Workshop definitely should have just been a free patch because it didn't add a whole lot, whereas Automatron at least added, different crafting options, but then also added some story quest line stuff. So, but I mean, it's still basically a huge sandbox and you can do whatever you want with it, including modding it. So there's still a lot there to do. I've still only put like 40 something hours into it and would like to put more in. I was just kind of waiting for that big chunk patch to come through so that way, it's more fun to be running through and doing the missions and things, and then keeping an eye out for the craftable stuff that you need to make a new robot or to expand your base, rather than just purposely going out and gathering. That just bores me.
Yeah, I just go out randomly. And I don't know, dog meat for life for me. I'm sorry.
I've watched a couple videos of people making some crazy robots, so I'm interested to try it out. I just haven't gotten around to it. So what's next?
That Division, it is plagued with hacks and cheaters.
Oh,
which is kind of
shooter
funny.
with cheating?
What?
Never.
An Ubisoft game has issues? I know. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying at the moment. But it's just funny because, like, back in those open betas and the actual betas, all these hacks and cheating was a huge issue for, like, a lot of players. And, there was quite a few forum posts about it. And Ubisoft came out and said, we are looking into this. This is going to be better for, like, the actual release. And the issues with the whole thing, like a lot of the information being client-bound as well, from ammo to health and all that kind of stuff. We saw those issues in advance. Thought they might have been, looked at and improved. No, it seems they weren't. You've got some hacks now where people are actually modding their weapons to basically infinite levels. However high they want to make their damage, they can change it on their weapon. So they're like one-shotting bosses and people in the dark zone and that kind of stuff. You've got all the invisibility stuff, movement hacks, all that. You got people exploiting certain mechanics with the bosses to get more loot. There's just heaps of stuff going wrong with Division at the moment. And it seems like all of their new content is bugged as well, from the invasions and everything too. Like, their daily missions haven't been working. It's like, yeah, we're looking at this, we're trying to make it work, but they don't work yet. Well,
sorry we took all your money and gave you a shitty product, but we're working
That's the thing,
on it.
It's not a shitty game. It was like a decent game, but...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying unfinished.
It's an Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
It's like, it's sorry to say that, but it's just an Ubisoft game. Mm-hmm. Good ideas, bad execution.
Yeah, that makes me glad I never got into it. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm still glad I got it. It was fun for when I played. And it's still fun as like a group game. Like, they made the matchmaking work reasonably well and quickly. And I don't know, some of the group content was actually pretty fun. Challenging, but enjoyable. So they know how to make good stuff. They just need, like, a better QA team, or an actual QA team, So I think that's their issue right now. But yeah, there's a lot of people complaining about this. But it's just funny, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but they're trying to punish a lot of these, like, exploiters now. Not people, like, actually using hacks, but just using game mechanics. Well, like going through the wall at the end boss so he can't shoot you, but you can kill him and get your loot. Or, other sort of exploits like that. They're trying to, like, really crack down on them now and, ban them, suspend them, all that kind of stuff.
If somebody finds something like that, I don't see... There was a thing like that with Destiny a while back, where there was that loot cave. Yeah. So, like, somebody finds a hole in your game and exploits it. Yeah, okay, it's kind of shitty, but at the same time, it's like, maybe you should just fix the fucking hole in your game, not punish the people for finding it.
I think it is on them to actually fix those exploits instead of both complaining about it and punishing people for using it. If it's there, we're going to use it. That's just our nature.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about, like, Western gamers, but we will exploit the shit out of games.
Basically.
Like, it's funny, I've seen this in Black Desert right now. Like, you didn't see hardly any of the exploits and stuff that were in the KR version. I know they've got their different system there, but the minute it goes to West, it's like all these exploits just come out, and I'm like, why wasn't this found earlier? It's like, no, we just have an affinity for it.
Well, and then we find it, put it on everything, like from blogs to YouTube to social media.
Exactly.
So everyone sees it, everyone does it. And
We don't just like exploiting, we like, reveling in our exploits. We like big noting ourselves.
basically.
Idiots, like just streaming themselves exploiting games and stuff. YouTube videos on them cracking this boss. And I'm like, why would you do that? Just shut up and keep
And do it.
exploiting and do it. Don't tell anybody. We're all going to find out eventually anyway, but just keep it quiet.
Yeah, they'll never learn.
They won't, and we won't either. Like, seriously, I would have used those exploits if I was in the game.
Yeah.
Because they're not, like, really bad ones. They're just, clipping through a wall so you can kill a boss easier. Like, you think about MMOs and how much we exploit dungeon runs,
Yep.
Avoiding certain packs, abusing certain mechanics in areas of bosses, So, I don't know, we're just kind of used to it.
Yep.
There's a whole group play thing there too. Like, if the group is doing that exploit, like, you're not going to do it properly if they're not doing it,
Right.
So yeah, it's a funny situation for them. They're saying the next big update with a few more bits of content is going to, fix a lot of these exploits, but I'm imagining it's going to bring in a few more as well.
Probably.
Yep. And yeah, that's the division at the moment. Oh well. And the next one is Hearthstone and their Old Gods expansion.
How many expansions does that game have now?
Oh, I don't know.
I lost track.
The difference between this one now is they're actually trying to cut down on the whole feature creep stuff. Like, they've actually got quite a few modes now where you can play based certain decks. Like, you can play against people with just, like, the basic model. You can play against people with the basic plus, say, the Goblins expansion. All that kind of stuff. So they're kind of creating a certain, what's the word? Just walled gardens there, depending on what content you actually own, which is a great thing because some of those expansions and the cards you get are just way too OP.
Yeah.
There was a huge power creep there.
I don't know. I think unless they do a 360 on the or a 180 on the whole every card has a random effect, until they get rid of that, I think the game is still meh. I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't
don't like
know.
all the randomness.
I can't go back to it after that.
That's the thing with a lot of these new different sections as well. Like, you can play just with the basic cards, so it's not all that random stuff.
Yeah. I mean, but each one of those expansions added cool cards. It was just there was a lot of them that had a lot of random shit on them, and I would, for the most part, wouldn't use as many of those because, most of the decks that I had, you want to have the control over what's happening. You would get into matches with people who had nothing but cards that had all these random effects, so it would just throw your whole game plan off. And you can't do anything to prevent that because it's just like they random RNG favored them that game, so you're just screwed.
Pretty much. But yeah, the Old Gods is trying to go back to that old style of play too. This will be a basic expansion that will be in that basic mode. So they're trying to keep it around the same power level as a lot of that basic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if they can just kind of even it out, because I mean, leaving the cards in that they have where they already went overboard with the randomness, if they can leave that stuff in there, but if they go back to more of a balanced experience for a few more expansions, they might round it out to where it's not you playing against people or having to use cards because that's the only way to, they're the overpowered ones or whatever. Making it feel like you have more choice is always a good thing rather than kind of forcing you into like, this is the best way to play, these are the best way to build decks. That's just counterintuitive to a deck building game.
Let's see. And this is one I wanted to talk about a little bit. YouTube is now changing their content ID system. Lately, there's been a huge outcry about the system where if someone, flags your content as, ripping off their own, music companies saying they're using your music or videos, that kind of stuff, they will get all your money while that, claim is being disputed. A lot of content people creating this stuff is really angry about that too because, that's their livelihood for a lot of that stuff, but they're not getting the money that's owed to them, but someone else is just for flagging it. And that really, really hurt YouTube for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
But now they're going to be changing that. So if you dispute a video, you copyright claim it based on whatever you want, then that money is now going to be held, suspended until that claim is processed. Like 99% of these claims are actually disputed in the end and go back towards the content creator. And there's been a huge amount of abuse against this for a long time now where people just claiming hundreds and hundreds of videos for no reason whatsoever, but still earning all that money from them.
Right.
So they're actually going to be changing that now.
That's good. I mean, I think people, if they're using things with permission, or they're not using anything that's copyrighted by someone else and they're making money off of it, that should be totally
Well, it's the
fine.
whole thing where even in most media you're allowed to use, I think it's like 15 seconds of any audio.
Right.
And I guess it's like the whole thing with, transformative content, whatever that, it's a stupid term lately that's been a bit overused, but, like if you're talking and you're reviewing a game, that is your content, no matter if you're playing some game footage in the background, you know?
Right. And that's pretty much never been the point of the contention anyway. Like, it's aside from like Nintendo, nobody's really.
No, a lot of people have been claiming those. A lot of people.
Game videos?
You'd be surprised. Really? Yeah, reviews all the time. And there's been a funny thing with like people trying to silence certain critics as well, not liking what they're reviewing about your game. That's been an issue for a long time too. And with a lot of those big YouTube producers, oftentimes that first week and that first month is the most valuable for them, like that's where you get your most views and probably your most money. Yet that's when people are flagging it and earning it off you. So at least now, these content producers are actually getting the money that's owed to them. And I think we'll see less, abuse of these systems because of it.
Yeah, oh, well, that's good that they're trying to at least make it fair to where, the appropriate people that should be getting the money are getting it. Or if it is held up, it's not going to the wrong person for that time until it gets resolved.
Yeah, exactly. I still think they should improve it in regards to people abusing the system and constantly flagging.
Yeah.
Like if you're constantly flagging people that obviously it's not your right to flag, then I think you should be punished for it. Like people like Nintendo flagging someone for like 10 seconds of one video clip, That's wrong. We all know that's wrong and they should be punished for it, Limit their abilities to actually flag or, so they can only flag maybe 3 videos a week or something like that. Punish these people. Well, they should be punished for abusing a system like that.
Right. That makes sense.
I know they wouldn't do it to the big companies, but there are a lot of other smaller ones doing the same thing as well.
I'm sure it's going to be a while before this is all settled where everybody's happy, but...
Probably. I think the main issue is there's no, competitor to YouTube.
Yeah.
It's YouTube and that's it. Like, I know there's Vimeo and a few other places, but if you want to actually make and earn content kind of thing, it's just YouTube's it. That's it.
Yep.
Deal with it.
Deal with it, broski.
Broski. And as a content producer myself, I like these changes. With my, 10 views on a video.
Yeah.
That's 1 cent. That's mine now. Funny. One funny thing I don't know how they're going to fix is, people re-uploading, trailers and stuff.
Or, people that just put music on there. So, full songs. I don't think they're trying to make money off of it, but it's just random people putting random music up that's not theirs.
Well, full songs is definitely, copyright. But I mean, uploading someone's trailer, that's public content kind of thing, the game trailers. Or using those game trailers in your own, video kind of thing.
Right.
You reckon that should be allowed?
Mm.
I'm public content is public content.
I mean, the way I look at it is you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want, basically. Because, if you post a video of a game or a movie or whatever, and you're posting chunks of it just so you can review it or point out something that's problematic or whatever, you're not exactly trying to make money off of the trailer or the video game footage or the snippet.
You're making
of music
money off your own content.
Exactly. So I don't see where there should be a problem with this at all. But, big corporations see it differently. But that's how they became big corporations, by fucking over the little guys.
Yep. What about Let's Plays? There's a few, non-talking Let's Plays where they're just going through the entire game.
I mean, I've done stuff like that where I've just been oh, here's me doing a run on this game, and presented with no commentary.
An entire game, with a story game, Mm. I think that's where, that to me is kind of just uploading a movie.
It's more that seems like it would be more appropriate for streaming, just so somebody could see what the game's like, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. What do I know? I'm not a lawmaker, so.
But even with the good streamers, they're talking about it. They're constantly, interacting with people. It's a performance per se.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but if someone's just blind playing, I don't know. I think that's still copyright issued.
Yeah, it's touchy.
Talking about big companies, let's go to Blizzard. And shutting down the private server. What was the name of it? Nostaralis?
Something like that.
Yeah. And people were mad.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Really
it's
mad.
something we talked about when we had that show on emulation, and how some servers have been emulated to resurrect dead MMOs, or things like Project 1999, where that actually got sort of a semi-blessing from the company, but still was not legit. I don't know. It's kind of a tricky thing, because I think that, people want that, and they would pay money for it, and the company's not willing to give it to them. So I think the company could have maybe handled it better by saying, like, hey, yeah, we give you our blessing, you can go ahead and do this. Or at least been like, okay, well, we're going to take the hard work that you guys did, we're going to pay you a little bit of money for it, and then we're going to make it an official server, and we're going to see over it, and then that way people can have that vanilla WoW experience that they want. But then instead of doing that, they closed it down, and then they say, oh, well, yeah, we're going to give you these, what they call it, pristine servers or some bullshit. And they're like, yeah, it's just going to be like, we're going to take away the group finder and raid finder and all the bells and whistles that we've added over the years. But otherwise,
they're
the
gonna make
game
it
is still going to be
Kata?
the same game.
They're
Yeah.
going to make it the Kata expansion or something,
Right.
and they're going to like slow down.
Because
like,
the
leveling.
engineering is so difficult to get it back to the way it was back when.
There were like a handful of people over here doing it pretty damn well, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Like, did you see the numbers on this server? Like, MMOs
People
just
want
like
it.
MMOs would kill for those numbers. Just the concurrent users.
Well, I think
like,
it was Sincane that was saying that, like, yeah, like old Blizzard probably would have went for it, but new Blizzard won't, and new Blizzard is fucking stupider than SOE, because even SOE realized that, hey, progression servers are what is making us all of our money. And even though Blizzard isn't hurting for money per se, WoW has hemorrhaged users for years and is at all-time lows and will probably never recover. So even though they're going to get that spike when Legion comes out,
Blizzard
they
is
still
fine. He's a bit stupid.
they
like
still
that.
would have made a lot more money, though, if they would have
most
just
definitely.
followed suit like SOE did and just said, hey, here's a progression server, it's vanilla, or just plain old, here's a vanilla server for all of you who want that. And why people want that, I don't know, because then you'd still be hitting a level cap, you'd still have the same bullshit you have now, just with less of the other bullshit they added in between. Like, it doesn't make
See, I
sense.
think a lot of people liked how the classes and the content worked back then.
I think people have rose-colored lenses on, because even if you go back and play old school, any MMO, you could go back to the beginning. It wouldn't be the same as it was the first time. And it
Probably
would get
not, but there just seemed to be a lot of people that actually wanted this and liked it. So I think they are a bit silly for not closing it down. It's their content, I guess, but not trying it themselves. I think their issue is they think it'll cannibalize their, like, expansion sales.
Yeah, they do. It's that, and they also cited the whole copyright law thing, where if they don't contest this, then anyone can do it and get away with it, basically.
Oh, I get them closing it down. I do, because that's theirs, but not opening one up themselves, that's kind of the weird part.
Yeah, and then also saying, like, oh, well, we're thinking about doing something like that, but it's like completely
It's
not what
actually
people
like
want.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's like a big petition now for them too that's got, I think, 240,000 signatures.
I just don't get it. Like, how are they so successful when they shit on their customers over and over again and don't fucking care about what they want? Yet they're still successful. It makes absolutely no sense. Everybody hates it, but they keep buying and eating this shit up. Like, the only game of theirs that I play is Diablo, and I eat that shit up, yeah, but I don't have to pay for anything. They keep giving me content for free for something I paid for 2 years ago. That's a great buy. But when it comes to some of this other shit that they do with their company, I'm just like, wow, what are you guys doing? But, when you have money hand over fist, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want.
I think they did pretty well with Hearthstone. Like, the amount of daily gold you earn and are able to purchase stuff with it, I think that's pretty reasonable. If you're like a daily player, like, you don't have to buy anything. I've got friends that play Hearthstone. They haven't spent a cent in years, yet get all the new content pretty easily,
Yeah, I remember I did that too. I earned enough gold to buy some of these.
So I think they are pretty generous with those kind of things. But I think it's just, wow, they've kind of given up on it.
Something.
Like, you look at all the updates and changes and all that kind of stuff for their other games, and for WoW, it just seems like this forgotten cretin in the corner. occasionally tossing it a slice of bread, you know.
Yeah, I think they really just don't care anymore. They don't want it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to be that company anymore that's just WoW. And that's great.
They don't want to be an MMO company anymore.
Right. They're diversifying their catalog with other options, and they've been putting a lot of effort into those other options because Diablo gets patches all the time. StarCraft just got its last expansion, is getting patched all the time. Hearthstone gets new stuff all the time. Overwatch is about to come out. I'm sure it's going to have similar amounts of stuff thrown out there for you to consume. Though I think that they made a mistake charging money for that one. I think that would have very well suited itself to free to play, but whatever.
I like it being paid.
I mean, why? What does that do?
It's cheaper. I'm paying $60, whatever. But in a free to play game, you're usually going to spend a lot more for the characters you want.
I mean,
especially when they're adding more characters. Like, look at HOTS right now and how expensive it can be to actually get a full roster of characters. You're going to be paying more than $60. I'm sorry. And they're not even going the hybrid route with this either. Like, all the customization is earned in-game as well. So I think I prefer that model. I do.
But they could have just as easily done the Smite model and just said, hey, here's the game for free. You can play the free rotation. You can earn your own in-game cash or buy stuff. Or you can pay $20 and unlock everything in the future, except for skins. And that could have been just as easy. But that would have at least allowed people to play it, see if they like it outside of the beta. And if they were really into it and wanted to spend some money on it, they spend $20 and they open up everything. Done and done.
No, I like this.
I don't see it being worth the money.
Maybe that is an issue. Like, I know for Australia, we pay like $70 for it.
I mean, look at how people bitched and moaned about Star Wars Battlefront being multiplayer only and things like that. And it's $60 and then you got to pay for the extra DLC and all that shit. I mean, this is the same thing, but everyone wants a piece of this game. It's the same shit.
No, Star Wars Battlefront had a lot less there. I don't know, their gameplay was a bit funny. Disagree.
Star Wars Battlefront is a much better game.
Dun dun dun.
Whatever. All I know is that fuck Overwatch. I'm playing Uncharted 4 soon.
Ooh, and I'll be watching a Let's Play of it. I'm terrible. I complain about it, but I'm just as bad. Seriously, like I don't even have a PS4, so I can't really play it anyway, but...
Oh, I can't wait.
Those big, like, story games, I would just rather chuck it on the TV.
Well, that game you can watch like a movie. That's very much the case. And you don't even need to really play that through to experience it, because it is fun to watch. But the multiplayer is something you need to play. You can't really... That's not really as fun to watch.
I've got Overwatch for my multiplayer.
Doesn't even compare.
And the last story piece I have is Lionhead, the studio, is closing, and the Fable Legends games has been cancelled.
I don't remember much about that, but I know that I signed up for a beta at some point because they were saying it was going to be Windows 10 and Xbox One compatible. I never got into Fable. It's never something I played because it was always an Xbox game, and I never owned an Xbox, so don't really know a whole lot about it.
I played a couple, but Fable is the whole overhyping, under-delivering kind of thing, over-promising entirely with every mechanic and the gameplay and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, under-delivering. That's just their motto, I think. They're okay games, I guess. Like, some of the RPG elements can be fun, but it's just, they're a very average game in general. I know a lot of people will disagree with me there, but yeah.
Well, either way, it's sad to see a studio close. Is that all they made was Fable?
No, what I liked from them was Black and White.
Oh.
You know that God game where you had that creature that you grew up? Yeah, that was cool.
I didn't really like that game.
And they made a game called The Movies, where you, like, management game where you're making a movie studio. That was actually a really great game and really great systems, but just never took off for some reason. Like, it was kind of fun managing all those people and actors and janitorial stuff, building buildings, and, like, structuring movies together and that kind of stuff. Just how they made it. I don't know, it was a really well done game. But, yeah, it just didn't hit off. I think that's all they did.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yep, that's it. Fable stuff and Black and White.
Got it.
They didn't really do much. No wonder they closed out.
Burn.
Yep. To see a lot of like smaller Fable stuff. Fable Heroes, Fable Journey, Fable Anniversary. Make an actual game. Oh, that's why I know this company. This was like Peter Molyneux's company.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Wasn't
the
that
Fable and
Goddess?
yeah, he's gone into his own company now, but this is where he was making Fable. And he was the one that was overhyping it all the time. I remember now. So yeah, it's kind of sad to see it closed, but I can see why it closed. It makes sense.
Yeah. It is sad to see, and hopefully, the developers make their way to some other cool companies or whatever. But when a company is not making the right decisions or is making shitty games, they're not likely going to stay in business for very long. Unless they're Blizzard.
Exactly. Well, they got 10 years, I think, so they did pretty well.
Yeah, not bad.
And I saw the Blizzard dig then. Don't worry. I heard it. I heard you.
I can't help it.
You
I can't help
is salty as fuck about
it's
Blizzard.
just so many years of like loving parts of them and hating the other parts. So many years. It's been since the 90s. Love part of it, hate part of it. Actually, I loved them all the way through the 90s. It was pretty much after WoW is when I started to hate them.
Yeah, you need to get over it.
I'm over it. I'll play Diablo still.
Build a bridge. Build a bridge and get over it.
I burn bridges. I don't build them.
Listen.
And this time we're going to go into our last segment called Idiots on the Internet. Yes, it's back, and back with a vengeance. This time we're looking a League of Legends streamer, a very popular League of Legends streamer, who is a toxic arsehole. But the bit here is like streaming himself constantly being a toxic arsehole as well. And he's only just been banned recently. The funny thing to that is though, he was actually saying that like in a video posted like, they really should have banned me sooner. Like, he recognized how much of an asshole he was in this game, but...
See, the thing with him is that I think that he knew he was doing it. There was no question there. Like, he knew, I think that was part of his persona, and it was part of what he was trying to do. Because he's kind of, like, you look at the guy, and he's kind of a meathead, jock-looking dude, but then playing the game, and then just seems like kind of just an asshole in general, for the most part. Says horrible things to people on stream, in the video game itself, whatever. I mean, he's the reason why people think League is so toxic. Like, he's that personified. I've watched some of his videos in the past, and it's just like, wow, dude, you're a dick. But yeah, he made comments about them potentially banning him because he had gotten some warnings and stuff. And I saw this one video where he was actually one of the guys that's a caster for the pros. Also does some videos for Riot themselves, like the champion spotlights he does the voiceovers for, and then he's on Primetime League, which is like a little talk show that they have during the pro season. So he's been around with Riot for a long time, and I watched this video where this kid Tyler won, and that guy, the professional guy, both ended up in the same queue together. And the toxic kid basically told him, like, I'm going mid or I'm feeding. And then the other guy was, like, on stream, like, saying, like, oh, man, I think that's Tyler 1. And, like, they're both going back and forth talking shit about each other. And, like, whoever made this video put, like, a split screen of each of their screens when they're both on stream at the same time and, like, talking shit about each other. It was hilarious. But at the end of the day, the things that this guy did got him banned. And it's surprising that it took so long, just like he said, because of the fact that he streamed all the time and was constantly being a dickhead. And it's like the thing that Riot has said from like way back. They're trying to get rid of toxicity in their game. They want a better experience for most players, and yet they let somebody like this who get popular enough to become like a recognizable name while being toxic the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Get popular by being an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, like, he was actually encouraging that kind of behavior by doing it himself, and then, yeah, it became kind of popular because of it, and only got banned because of his popularity. And there was some objectivity in there too from Riot, like saying, you know, we weren't just trying to single out this guy and some other couple people that they banned. But there was at some point too where they had done something like this similar, where they banned some people and they said that they would be allowed to come back if they sent in a YouTube video of themselves apologizing for their actions, and actually let a couple people come back. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that with this guy, where he all of a sudden turns the other cheek and becomes
I don't
a good
agree with
player.
that.
Yeah, I don't really.
If you're that much of an arsehole, you're not going to change.
Right. But I mean, I think it's good that Riot is following through with their policies as far as trying to get rid of people like this guy. But at the same time, it's like, you waited until he had over 100,000 followers before you banned him? I mean, it just seems like he got way too popular way too fast. And was popular for the wrong reasons. And I mean, it's good that they're shutting him down, but at the same time, like, you probably should be on that a little bit faster. But it being a free-to-play game and being all you need to sign up for a new account is an email address. I mean, how hard it is to make 15 other new email addresses and have 15 new accounts tomorrow. This guy, unless they totally banned out his IP, that he's going to be back.
If you're that much of a prominent player, you're going to have, you know, a lot of purchased heroes, a lot of purchased skins, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you lose
it does
but
hurt
it doesn't stop you.
No, I guess not.
It really doesn't. Because I've had, not friends of mine, but people that I've met in the game and have been played with that have admitted to having had accounts banned for shitty behavior and saying like, oh, you know, it sucks because I lost all this shit, but whatever, you know, I'll just earn it again. So I don't know if they're ever going to be able to solve that problem of toxicity, but it is nice to see them get rid of somebody like this piece of shit.
I think they need to get a bit more serious about it, though.
I agree, but at the same time, I don't know how you can control, you know, 27 million daily users. That's just...
No, I just mean,
outrageous.
It's like this, letting someone stream for that long being a toxic arsehole, like,
yeah,
you need to cut that off way, way quicker than that.
Yeah, they need to, like, hire...
Because that's the image you get of LoL, and that's the, you know, it perpetuates that image. Not to mention, it makes the player experience a lot worse. And I think the worst part about this is it makes such things look positive to a lot of people. You know, it promotes that kind of toxicity.
The problem with it is that the people who would be attracted to this guy's stream are probably teenagers and, you know, or younger, you know, kids. They're attracted to this because the guy, I mean, some of the things that he says, it is kind of funny in an out of context sort of way. You know, if you're just watching this guy talking shit to people, it's like, yeah, I've seen my own friends do that playing PS4 games, getting on voice chat and talking shit to 12-year-olds, you know, and it can be funny, but in the experience of the game, the people who are in the game with this guy, he's ruining the game for them. So that's why, you know, it needs to be taken care of. But yeah, you're just telling a bunch of kids that are watching this that this is okay, and or even adults, you know, who knows? Maybe there's probably a lot of toxic adults out there too. We've all had those moments, but this guy takes it to a whole nother level.
And that's it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. That is our new show. Hopefully you'll hear more about this in the future. The future. Woo!
Yeah, as always, questions and comments are welcome. You know where to get a hold of us. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on our blogs. You'll see us around. And we'll be back in a week. I think next week we should have another show with Dune, if I am not mistaken. So hopefully we'll have something a little more in-depth to talk about with Mr. Dune. We'll see you guys later.
That does it for this week's edition of Couch Potatoes. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll continue to join us. Couch Potatoes can be found on Twitter at Couch Potatoes, and on Anook at anook.com/blog/couch-potatoes. Music credits, other places you can find us, and pertinent links discussed on the show can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. We're going to get back to gaming now, so we'll see you next week.